What's up, guys? Josh Payton here, 24/7 Sports. That's Steve Wiltfong there, National Director of Recruiting, a special weekend edition of the Wiltfong Recruiting Whip Around. And why aren't we doing it on a Saturday, Steve? Well, we got a really big date coming up tomorrow. That's when Kool-Aid, JaQuincy McKinstry, finally makes his announcement. So let me start there. And a couple of names that we can throw in here, but these are guys that we've talked about: McKinstry, Scooby Williams. These are guys that maybe they lean Alabama, maybe they lean Auburn. So it's been back and forth for months on the whip around. Now it's finally decision time for McKinstry, at least, and you can go wherever you want to here. What does the home stretch feel like? And then where overall does the recruiting picture in the state of Alabama sit as we talk this morning?
Well, there was a time not too long ago, Josh, we were talking on the whip around about Auburn seeking a second straight top 10 recruiting class and how they were going to have a great chance to clean up in state and finish with Kool-Aid McKinstry and Scooby Williams. But it's not looking good for Gus Malzahn and the Tigers for either of those prospects. I talked with McKinstry's dad Friday, and he told me that JaQuincy's had his mind made up for about 2-3 weeks. I like Alabama in that one and logged a high confidence 24/7 Sports crystal ball forecast in favor of the Tide, joining BOL insider Hank South, who's had a long time pick in there. Didn't ride the roller coaster at all, stuck it out with Alabama, and then Bama Online publisher Tim Watts also logged that forecast on Friday, high confidence for Alabama. And I think it came down to relationship with coaches and position development and pedigree. And I think that Alabama checked those boxes for McKinstry. So when he steps to the podium on Sunday and announces his decision, I like the Crimson Tide to add him to the class, LSU being the third school in the mix for McKinstry. And if Alabama does indeed land him, they add him, the number one ranked corner in the top 247, to the number one ranked recruiting class in the 24/7 Sports composite. And I've lost track, Josh. This would be like Saban's 10th number one class in 13 years or something like that, 12 years. So it's been a hell of a run. And when you look at this class, it's got a lot of guys that you can make a case for number one at their respective positions. So this is one of Saban's best classes ever on paper, where you got Tommy Brockermeyer and J.C. Latham. Those are arguably the top offensive tackles in the country, and they're in the same class. Damon Payne, 5-star defensive tackle. He's the number 2 defensive tackle in the composite, so obviously he's in the discussion to be the number 1 overall player at that position. Alabama's receiver class collectively with Ja'Cory Brooks and Aggie Hall and the speedster Christian Leary, all three from the Sunshine State, was a terrific haul. And they have the number 1 center in the fold already in James Brockermeyer, Tommy's brother. So a lot of number ones, or a lot of guys close to number 1 at the position. It's a hellacious class. Dallas Turner might be the best pass rusher in this class. Andrew Ivins, our colleague, saw him play last week, where he had 4 sacks in St. Thomas Aquinas' season opener. So this is a special class, and it may not still finish number 1 because Ohio State's right on their heels, and they're in on a lot of blue chippers, Josh.
Yeah, we got the Buckeye Bash coming up, so let's just go ahead and talk about that now. I mean, I'm looking at names here. We got Davis, we got Lay, we got a bunch of guys we can touch on here. So let's just get caught up on the latest with that.
Yeah, so the Buckeye Bash this weekend, Ohio State opens their season against Nebraska at noon on Saturday. And there's a lot of Ohio State recruits that live in the area. I believe this Buckeye Bash is going down at Jack Sawyer's house, the 5-star defensive lineman out of Pickerington North, which is a suburb of Columbus, Ohio, for those of you that don't know. And with this pandemic and the NCAA dead period that we're in, Ryan Day and company can't meet with these prospects on campus, but they can get together collectively and hang out. And so you're going to have a bunch of Ohio State recruits hanging out at Jack Sawyer's house. And there's at least 2 big-time coveted recruits in the 2021 class that are expected. 5-star offensive tackle Tristan Lee out of Fairfax, Virginia, Robinson Secondary School. Ohio State, Oklahoma, and LSU are the 3 schools that I think have the best chance to land Tristan. And this is a big opportunity for Ohio State. Attended the win over Penn State last year, where his mother told me that one of the things that stood out about that visit was the interaction that she had then with Ohio State's parents, Ohio State's players' parents at that game. And so now they're going to get a chance to spend some time with Ohio State recruits and Ohio State's parents. And this is big because Tristan Lee's family is going to follow him to the school of his choice. So it's a family decision. So it's him, his little brother, who's also got a bunch of offers, Aiden, and then Tristan are here. And certainly Tristan's the bulk of the decision, but it's a family decision. They're going to move together. And so this is a chance for them all to get a good feel for Columbus, check out the area, and see how they bond with this current recruiting class and their families. And we'll see if they make a move, because Coach Stedwara and Ryan Day and company made a move during quarantine season. Before the pandemic, Ohio State was down the list. That was LSU and Clemson at that time. LSU is a mainstay in this recruitment. He's been there the most. Oklahoma made a move. He went to the Sooner Summit, a recruit organized event in the summer, and had a great time there. Has a great relationship with Bill Biedenbaugh, the offensive line coach, and some of the Oklahoma commits. And now it's Ohio State's turn to make a move. Derek Davis, the number 2 safety in the 24/7 Sports composite, Josh, he was actually going to visit Georgia this weekend. They wanted to go down there, soak up the atmosphere, and check out some of the academic buildings. But they canceled it because Georgia doesn't have a game. So they're going to go to the Buckeye Bash, and he's been to Ohio State over 10 times. So this is just about how can he connect with the recruits? Does he fit in with those guys? And his dad said maybe they have some meaningful conversations that lead to him ultimately committing to Ohio State. He's going to announce his decision on November 7th. He's visiting Ohio State this weekend. He's visiting LSU next weekend. He hasn't been to Baton Rouge. LSU's been recruiting him hard. Penn State's the crystal ball favorite. I wouldn't say it's a slam dunk for the Nittany Lions, or why is he taking these 2 visits on his own dime at the end here? If it was a foregone conclusion, he was going to Penn State. Not ruling out Penn State, just think that one's still wide open.
Yeah, they can't go to Georgia this weekend, but we can, Steve. We can do it right now, actually. A couple of guys down there who remain uncommitted, very, very hot recruitments here. I've told you, I say Smell Munden, so that I get his first name out of the way really quick, because I'm not quite sure if it's Small or Smale, but he is a bona fide star linebacker out of Georgia. And while you answer that question and where his recruitment stands, I know we got a commitment date set. I also look at Nyland Green, 4-star corner out of Georgia, and he's uncommitted. And a lot of people are asking questions in our comment section about him too. So Munden, Green, where do we stand? Latest with 2 uncommitted prospects out of the Peach State.
Well, Munden locked in his decision date for November 18th. He's the number 1 linebacker in the top 247. And the crystal ball pick has been with Georgia for a while. And although I think schools like Auburn have made a run at him, and Tennessee's done a great job, and he's got an outstanding relationship with Florida, and LSU's in there swinging, I still like the Dogs and riding with that one. And I think he ultimately ends up in Georgia's class. And Georgia's got a chance to make that move on Alabama and Ohio State if they have a perfect finish down the stretch, which would include guys like Corey Foreman and Mason Smith, the 5-star defensive lineman they're battling LSU for. But I like Georgia for Small Munden, and I'm really starting to like Georgia for Nyland Green, who's the number 2 cornerback in the top 247. He's definitely in the discussion with McKinstry and maybe 1 or 2 other guys to be CB number 1 in this class. Nyland Green doesn't come off the field. He works harder than you, Josh, and you work as hard as anybody with your multiple podcasts and your show 3 times a week. But Nyland Green's working as hard as anybody out there, taking as many snaps. And I think that's a Georgia-Tennessee battle. I wouldn't be surprised if he's committed somewhere before Halloween. And I like Georgia for Nyland Green there. And a bonus Georgia nugget, but Xavier Sori, he tweeted recently that he's planning to commit soon. And I like Georgia there. But I was talking to my man, Rusty Manziel from Dogs 247, and it's easy to say, look, Georgia and Florida, they play a big game in early November against each other. And I think that's a game that can have some ramifications on the recruiting trail when you're talking about guys like Xavier Sori and Terrion Arnold, one of the more coveted safeties in the country. Florida and Georgia going toe-to-toe for those blue chippers. And that's a game that I can't wait to see in a couple weeks.
Oh man, that's a lot of information this morning. We got a lot of games on the field today, but there is a red hot recruiting situation all over the country, no matter where you look off the field. Steve Wiltfong, 247sports.com. That's where you want to be for all the latest. Mr. Wiltfong, my man, enjoy your Saturday.
Take care, y'all. Have a good one.